To sell cigarettes in Ingham County, you need a license. If you repeatedly sell to minors, well, the county is revoking that license. Sounds normal, but Ingham County is one of only 3 counties in Michigan to have cigarette license laws.
Health department officials say it's brought underage smoking down. So why don't other counties follow suit? Turns out it's illegal. In part 2 of our special report, Khalil tells us how the tobacco lobby's legacy still affects smoking laws in our state.
In the early 90s, after 3 counties in Michigan decided to take action against underage smoking, the tobacco lobby decided to take some action of their own.
The tobacco industry lobby came into Michigan in the 1990s and used its influence to convince our state leaders, our legislators, to enact this prohibition, this preemption against local action.
The law banned the other 80 counties in Michigan from passing licensing laws like Ingham's. Cliff Douglas, professor at U of M and former assistant director of the National Coalition on Smoking Health, says the law is a tobacco lobby tool to stop local authorities from preventing underage smoking.
So, for example, if a retailer breaks the law and sells a pack of cigarettes to a 15-year-old, they cannot revoke or suspend their license because there is no license, because the state has prevented them from doing so.
According to these tobacco companies' internal memos, which are now public, they were heavily involved in discussions that led to preemption. But was their goal actually to kill programs meant to stop underage smoking? Well, we went to the source to find out.
So if you got a bunch of regulations that are different in every county and every city, and no one knows what the rules are, what are you creating? You're creating well-intended though they may be, you're creating an industry that's unenforceable.
Pat Laughlin was a lobbyist representing the Tobacco Institute in the early 90s. His name was on multiple memos addressing preemption. He says licensing cigarette sellers doesn't make them more accountable, it adds unnecessary regulations.
But the goal was to create so many hurdles that tobacco would not be sold in stores.
So on behalf of the Tobacco Institute, Laughlin says lobbyists helped organize a preemption deal in exchange for a higher tax on cigarettes.
You have to understand there's a difference between legal product and illegal product. This is still America, I think.
I asked Laughlin about one memo in particular. In it, tobacco companies label Michigan a top priority for preemption because its local governments were proactive in licensing cigarettes.
Was that conveyed to you also, that Michigan is a state where its local governments are more active?
No. I mean, first of all, it was a long time ago, but no, I didn't see. Is my name on that memo? Because I probably didn't see it.
Okay, not this one. No.
You want me to look at it?
You can if you'd like to. But do you remember that being a high priority?
No, I mean, local preemption was, but again, I don't know where you're going with this, bless your heart, but the fact of the matter is, of course it's a priority, or else we were working for them. If it wasn't a priority, we wouldn't have tried to cut a deal at 3:30 in the morning. It was a priority.
Laughlin says preemption was also important for preventing black markets for cigarettes. He says too much regulation meant to keep minors from smoking may just push them to get cigarettes elsewhere.
And if you make the laws and regulations so onerous, you'll have created a cottage industry, the illegal importation and smuggling of tobacco products. And they're not going to be too concerned about who they sell it to. Maybe it's a 15-year-old.
I would disagree with that statement.
But Senator Rick Jones says simply licensing cigarette sellers wouldn't create any black markets.
We have that problem now. So this isn't going to create an additional problem.
He says part of the reason preemption still exists in Michigan after 20 years, lawmakers simply don't know about it.
Well, certainly, with term limits, I had never heard of this. And I certainly think that if you're selling cigarettes to minors on a consistent basis, you should be suspended.
Jones says Michigan's passed laws to license other legal substances. Cigarettes shouldn't be an exception.
Why do you think just specifically cigarettes haven't been licensed like these other things have?
I can only speculate that 20 years ago they had a very strong lobby.
And 20 years later, Douglas says legislators need to do more to address the 20 million minors still buying cigarettes in Michigan.
The laws against those sales are either not being upheld or they're just simply being ignored. If that continues, then we will continue to have an epidemic of kids becoming addicted in our state and dying 20 to 25 years before their time.
Very interesting, Joe. Now, the counties that do license cigarette vendors, have they done a better job at reducing underage smoking?
Well, you know, it's tough to tell. Ingham County has done a really good job. But when you take a county like Ingham and you compare it to these other counties that don't license, like for example, here there are 270 stores that sell cigarettes. Ingham tests all of them. If you look at counties like Clinton and Jackson, we talked to both of their health departments. Jackson County told us they only check maybe 1 or 2 stores, and it's the same in Clinton, and it's because it falls on law enforcement. Because of this law, the county doesn't have any control over this. So it's hard when you don't have the same numbers to compare them. But again, Ingham County has done a great job. They went in 20 years from 74% of stores selling to minors to just over 9% in 2012. So you can see, and a lot of that, the county says, is because of their licensing rules.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if any changes come as a result of this.
We will see.
All right. Thanks, Joe.